you guys. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you're new here. We're going to be talking about Teen Mom stars Tyler Baltierra, his wife, Caitlin, and their biological daughter, Carly, as well as the Teen Mom fans. As Caitlin and Tyler has gotten a lot of backlash, probably in the past 6 to 8 months, over the situation with Carly, the adoption, them speaking out. A lot of people saying they have bashed Brandon and Teresa. A lot of people saying they feel that Cate and Ty continue to use Carly as a storyline, despite the fact that Carly's parents have shut down the adoption. They've closed the adoption. They are no longer allowing Cate and Ty to speak to Carly. They are no longer allowing Cate and Ty the annual visits. They're not allowing, gifts to be sent. They have shut it down completely, which means Carly's parents, they are sending a message to Caitlin and Tyler that, like, we don't want to have anything to do with you guys, at least right now. But Caitlin and Tyler, they have continued talking about the adoption. Specifically on the show, they have talked about their feelings with the adoption being closed, their feelings with the way the annual visits were never like annual. They would skip a year. It would be hard to get in touch with Teresa. We see them being very vocal on the show, as well as in the podcast that they have. They just started a podcast not too long ago. I think we are probably like our fourth or fifth episode in. However, to date, present day, Tyler has said that him and Caitlin moving forward, they will no longer speak the way that they have, like so in depth about Carly, Brandon, and Teresa. They will still talk about like their experience with adoption, but they're going to try not to like bring up Brandon, Teresa, and Carly specifically because it has led to a lot of backlash. But they do still feel like they should be able to share their story, right? Now, like I said, a lot of people feel like Caitlin and Tyler are using Carly and as a storyline, and that without Carly and without them talking about her, they wouldn't have a storyline, right? Well, Tyler is kind of rebutting that argument, basically saying like, no. We do talk about a lot. We have a lot going on that MTV does film, could film. They just refuse to hone in on when we talk about the adoption, about Carly, about Brandon and Teresa. Thank you so much, Tracy, for the super chat. I appreciate your support. Thank you so much. So I was laying in bed the other night and I came across this TikTok creator called Cool Mom Jamie. And she put up a TikTok where she basically was talking about the videos and photos of Carly being released, where she said that she was ashamed of whoever did it, did not agree with them doing that. However, she said she feels like the public's curiosity about Carly comes from Caitlin and Tyler talking about Carly so much. And that if they would stop using Carly for a storyline, then maybe people would not be so curious and would not have dug into Carly, right? Well, we're going to listen to Cool Mom Jamie's TikTok. And because Tyler commented in the comment section of the TikTok where he said, like, listen, she's not our storyline. We have a lot of other storylines. We have so much stuff that we could talk about. MTV chooses to take the 5 minutes when we talk about Carly and use that rather than covering so many other things they can use. So let's hop over to TikTok. We're going to watch Cool Mom Jamie's video really quickly. Shout out to Cool Mom Jamie. Got to give credit. I'm not familiar with this account. This is the first time that I came across it. However, definitely got to give a shout out. If you guys want to go check this person's account out, by all means, do so. But let me make sure you guys can hear. Let's listen to her video, and then we're going to read the comments because Tyler was in the comment section a good bit.
I'm not the only one who saw the video of Carly singing at church leaking online, but Tyler had an interesting statement that I just read from Us Magazine. You guys know Tyler and Caitlin from Teen Mom. I see a lot of Teen Mom all over my TikTok, so I know you guys know what I'm talking about. Actually, first and foremost, I want to say shame on the person that leaked that. Like, yeah, it was on YouTube, but Tyler actually said he used to go every Sunday onto the YouTube just so he could see her singing. So
Oh, and I wanna make something clear about this, right? So I've seen several people say if Tyler would have never made the comment that he would go watch Carly sing on a YouTube channel, then people wouldn't have found this. He made that comment afterwards. So Caitlin and Tyler knew about Carly singing and knew that it was on a Facebook page and a YouTube channel. I don't know how long they knew about it, but they knew about it before we ever knew about it, and they would watch it. They would That's how they would see her after the adoption was closed, right? They knew about this and never said anything. It was only after it was leaked that Tyler made a post because people accused Tyler of being the one to leak the videos. And so he made a post saying, Absolutely not. I would not release this. Like, I've known about it, and I would sit every Sunday watching the service, hoping that Carly was going to sing so I would get to watch her sing. It was my only way to see her. So, absolutely not. I would not leak it. So, it's kind of wild that people now are like, the reason it was leaked is because Tyler said that he was watching it, and nobody knew about it until Tyler told everybody that he was watching her sing on YouTube. No, he said it afterwards to explain that they knew about it, had been watching it, and never said anything, and that it was something that he held dear to him, and he did not want it to get out because he had a fear that if it ever got out, that it would be shut down, and he would no longer have that of her. So I do want to put that out there for anybody that's confused about that, that thinks the reason the videos were found was because Tyler said something about it. No, it's reversed. He said something after the videos were leaked. All right, let's continue.
Shame on whoever leaked that. And shame on whoever leaked it too, because she's a kid. And at the end of the day, who knows what she knows about all this drama, but like, not cool. However, Tyler and Caitlin are not without controversy, right? And like, here's kind of where my bone of contention is. When you do a reality show, you get to choose what you're going to talk about. And like, they didn't have to keep bringing up the adoption, bringing up Brandon and Teresa, bringing up Carly for their storyline. They have other kids, right? They have Nova, they have Beta, they have marital issues. They've got businesses they're trying to start. There's a lot of things that they could have chosen to show with MTV. And instead, they're just repeatedly and ad nauseum, it starts to appear stalking Brandon and Teresa. And it's like, you made this a plot point. You made the public morbidly curious. And so what you should have done is complained in private and not on camera. But now you made a spectacle of this. And now people are like looking for Carly on social media. And maybe you ruined her favorite thing to do, which was sing at church. So I feel bad that he's not going to probably be able to see her singing anymore. But I'm also like, this is like a self-inflicted wound here. Let me know what you think in the comments.
Okay.
So Russell
Up
Brand.
back so we can see the comments. Okay, so she says she feels like they made the public curious because they spoke ad nauseum about Carly, right? That's all they talked about. And she said, y'all have marital issues, y'all have this going on, y'all have that going on. And I'm like, and the way we know they have that going on is because they have filmed about that as well. It does, from my understanding, production. Here's the thing: Kate and Ty's story is about their adoption, just like Chelsea's story was about Aubrey and Adam. That's why they started. Her teen pregnancy, she birthed Aubrey with Adam, so they were following that. They were following her raising Aubrey with deadbeat Adam. So the same with Kale, like she had Isaac. So they were following Isaac and Joe. Now with Kale, it did jump more into the other babies and other baby daddies because they brought drama. So yes, then they started following, Hobby. They wanted to know what's going on with you and Hobby. They wanted to know what's going on with you and Chris, but only because it brought drama. If Kale and Chris would have got along perfectly and they were going to football practice together, they wouldn't have asked about Chris. They only asked about Chris because, well, in the beginning he was so secretive. She was pregnant by a man that nobody knew really much about him. So it was the drama, like, oh, he's secretive. Why won't you talk about him? What's going on with Chris? Who is this guy? Trying to sneak a glimpse of Chris, when, I remember there's one episode where Hobby came back and cameras were having to leave as Hobby left or whatever, and Chris like got out of the car and he was spotted. Cameras got him, but they had to blur his face because he didn't give consent, whatever. But they're going to follow the story that started them on the show. And the only way they'll cover anything else with any other kids or any other baby mamas, baby daddies is if it brings drama. So Cate and Tyler's story is about their adoption. That's what it's about. That's why MTV continues to follow them. However, some other things have been filmed, like their daughter being them having to have Beta tested for it wasn't autism, was it? She was tested just to see like if she fell behind, I think. Their marital problems. I mean, they filmed about the fact that they split up while she was pregnant. Tyler lived in one house, she lived in one house. So they have filmed about a lot of other things. However, MTV will forever and always want to know what's going on with the adoption because that's the reason they are following Caitlin and Tyler for their story on adoption. So they're forever going to ask what's going on with the adoption. Have you heard from Brandon and Teresa? Do you know what's going on with Carly? It was a speech thing. Thank you. They're always going to ask that. Now, Caitlin and Tyler, and up until this point, they've always said, well, this is what's going on. This is what we know. However, according to Cate and Ty on their podcast, they said they were never told by Brandon and Teresa they couldn't discuss it. They were actually told the exact opposite. We know this is y'all's story. We know this is why y'all are still on the show to talk about the adoption. Y'all can talk about the adoption. Just don't read my messages on TV word for word verbatim. So according to Caitlin and Tyler, Brandon and Teresa never told them, you can't discuss us. You can't discuss Carly. You can't give updates on us. It was just they did not want things read verbatim. And then one thing that they did not want said was when they shut it down and shut gifts down. Teresa did not want her to put that out, but she did. So this lady is saying like, y'all could film all these other things y'all have going on. And I'm like, well, that's how we know about those things going on because they have filmed about them. However, yes, they absolutely have still talked about the adoption. I'm very curious to see what's going to happen when they move into the next season because Tyler said recently that they will still talk about their experience with adoption without bringing Brandon, Teresa, and Carly up or into it. So I'm curious if next season, if we have a season, if they're going to limit them mentioning their name specifically. Didn't they just say they didn't want them to share pictures? Yeah, basically, from my understanding, Brandon and Teresa told them, do not post pictures of her unless it's from behind. And I see a lot of people get that wrong as well. Like, they asked y'all to stop posting photos, but for years, y'all continue to post photos. And it was one time that Tyler posted a photo that he got in trouble for, and he was told not to. He got mad and said, I should be able to post photos, which that was we saw that reaction in the moment of him finding out. It was right after they found out they couldn't do it, And so I think that was like an emotional reaction. He didn't expect that because that was not how things were. From the time they gave Carly up, they were on the show and they, Brandon and Teresa come to the reunions and Carly's face, Carly was on the show. And they did, magazine spreads and magazine covers. And then he posted a photo, which was something that he had done before. And, he gets a call from Dawn and Dawn says, Teresa doesn't want you sharing photos of her face. And he's like, what? And he gets upset. And we see that. However, it was just days later where he was like, okay, if that's what her parents want, then I won't do that. Did it make me mad? Yeah, shouldn't have did it, but I won't do it. Right. But they were given permission to post photos of her from behind. So when it changed from, the problem with the photos, it was don't post photos of her face, but you can post them from behind. But a lot of people feel like that a lot of people think that all the photos that they posted from behind was going against Brandon and Teresa's wishes, but that was not against their wishes. They were okay with that. Okay, so let's read what he had to say. Tyler says, we are not in control of what MTV deems worthy of a storyline. Unfortunately, they don't air Nova's Cheer, me raising my niece. So Tyler does have his niece right now. Tyler's sister, Amber, I think her name is Amber. I don't know why, but his sister's name always leaves me. So Tyler's sister was arrested. There has been some situations with Tyler's sister and her husband, DV situations. Things have gotten really serious between them. She got arrested in jail. So he has his niece. And he's saying, listen, that could be a storyline. Me raising my niece. They can focus on that. They don't. They don't air Nova's Cheer, me raising my niece, Veda's gymnastics, etc. They just use the 5-minute conversation about adoption. Then more than likely, they prompted. Then more than likely, production was like, so what's going on with the adoption? Have you heard from Teresa? Tyler, ask her if she's heard from Teresa, And then he's like, okay, yeah, because that's something that they've always been able to film. They've always been able to say, like, well, what's going on with Teresa? Are we going to do a yearly visit? And then 716 Realtor says, since when does MTV producers allow the cast to pick the storyline? I thought it was common knowledge that they don't. And then Cool Mom Jamie says, I worked in TV for 10 years, but okay. I wish she would have elaborated more on that because she says she's worked in TV for 10 years, so I would love to hear like her side of things. Did she work in production? Does she have an insight, to be like, actually, he could say X, Y, and Z, which I feel like for MTV, Kale tried to shut it down. You guys remember Kale was sitting outside of her house one day and they're like, so what's going on with Chris? And she's like, I'm not going to talk about that. And they're like, well, why can't you? Is things like not going great? She's like, I can't talk about that. And they're like, is he not seeing the kids? Like, is things bad? And she goes, legally, I can't talk about it. Because legally, like Chris shut her down to where he couldn't talk about him. Right? So, and then Kale has said, even recently in an interview with People Magazine, Kale said, when she got to where she like could not cover certain things, it did not show the whole picture, and then it made her look a certain way. So that's when Kale, like that was a part of the reason Kale decided to quit. First, she was pregnant again, by a new man that had not been on TV. And she was like, I just didn't want to do that. But then when it come to like Chris and the kids that we shared together, like I couldn't even talk about a lot to do with him because legally I couldn't. So I couldn't tell the whole picture anymore. And anyways, MTV edited it the way that they did. So even if they would have filmed the full picture, they was only going to put out what they wanted to. They wasn't going to put the good things out. They were going to put the worst of the worst out. So even Kale, like that's a part of the reason she quit. It's part of the reason that Chelsea quit as well. So, maybe they could say, we're not going to talk about her. We're not going to talk about Carly. We're not going to talk about Brandon and Teresa. Would they have to quit? Would production allow it? Would production try to, do they have a contract stating like, this is what your contract states? You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I'm very curious. And a lot of people feel like, okay, well, if you can't continue the show without talking about Carly, then quit. Then quit the show. All right, so she says, I worked in TV for 10 years, but okay. And then 716 Realtor says, chill. I didn't say that you were wrong. It's just the first time I ever heard your take. And then Tyler said, they definitely don't trust me. And he's saying, like, since when does MTV producers allow the cast to pick their storyline? Tyler's saying they don't trust me. And then Chicken Plays 2.0 says, no reality show will give their cast editing rights. It is obvious that they will repeat a storyline for drama. So people like you can stay obsessed. You did not have a significant role in TV. And then Jen said, since when does the cast talk with cameras present and not know that what they say can be shown on TV? Valid point. Like, well, if you say this, it's if you talk about Carly, the adoption, it could potentially be shown on TV, right? But he's saying, like, listen, yeah, it's a 5-minute conversation, but we filmed other stuff that they could have put up, but they chose to run with that, Oh my goodness, I know, right? And then 716 Realtor says, yeah, but there are other cast members of the cast that leave or stop filming because the producers only want to shoot certain parts of their lives they don't want to talk about, like Kale, for example. And then Rosa said, never heard of you. You worked in TV for 10 years. Who are you? LOL. Watching you through the years and going through this heartbreak. Hope someday that you will have a relationship with Carly. Yeah, sure you have. That's funny because that's literally why they were on the show. But you know everything. Cool, mom. Oh, wow. They get it like the night before, from my understanding, Colby. So, from my understanding, either earlier that day or the day before, they get a copy of it, but they can't change it. Like, it's, they can't change it, at that point. Um, you cannot talk about her with cameras around. You're the problem. It's their fault. They don't. Cast can pitch ideas, but producers still have the final say. Then force them. You've been making them money for years. I mean, look at Chelsea. Sure, at the beginning, she went with what MTV told her. But around like season 3, she definitely was more in control. And by season 5, she was actively in control. That's not true. Chelsea was not in control. That's why she quit. Chelsea will say she wanted them to focus on her life with Cole and their kids. And because they still constantly asked her about Adam, that was a part of the reason she left. So that's not true. Tyler himself just refuted your claim that they do not get to pick their storyline. You are so wrong here. Uh, yeah, they should quit the show since MTV isn't airing other parts of their life. They can't say they don't want to talk about Carly on camera. You aware of everyone in production? Anyway, so this is just him responding, like saying, listen, we have no control. If they want to take, the 2 or 3 times over a 3 or 4 month period, we film for 3 or 4 months. In that 3 or 4 month period, we do all these other things. We have all these other things going on. However, we talk about the adoption 3 or 4 times. It's not our fault they choose to show the 3 or 4 times out of the 4 months that we film, talking about the adoption. Either way, I'm very curious to see. The show is on a pause right now, from my understanding, but I'm very curious to see how Caitlin and Tyler's going to handle this moving forward. Because, like I said, he did say that they are going to continue like sharing their feelings on adoption, but they're going to pull back talking about specifically about Brandon, Teresa, and Carly. I haven't listened to their latest episode, but because I think it dropped today. But I listen to it when I can, and I like it so far. I know the latest episode that dropped today has an adoptee on there. I think it's the outspoken adoptee, maybe. I think so. I do want to listen to it. Yeah, they're definitely going to push it, especially because there's all this drama surrounding it. You know what I'm saying? There's all this drama surrounding the adoption being closed, so they're going to push it. Yeah, I think they dropped a new one today. Anyways, you guys, I have to go ahead and jump off, but curious to hear what you guys got to say about that. What y'all think about that? Hearing Tyler say, like, listen, we do have so many other things going on. We do focus on our other kids. I'm even raising my niece right now. Tyler just got a job, Tyler is now certified, a certified. Ah, I have a major brain farts today. You guys help me out. What did he get? Personal trainer. Personal trainer. So he just become a certified personal trainer. He had an audition with a gym the other day. Not sure how that went. But I mean, if he gets that job, then they can even focus on that. They can focus on him transitioning into stay-at-home dad to now being a personal trainer. They can him raising his niece and the drama going on with that. It doesn't have to be about the adoption so much. But leave me your thoughts. What do you guys think about Tyler saying, like, listen, we're not sitting around talking about Carly and Brandon and Teresa 24/7. We're filmed for months. They take the few little conversations that we have, and that's what they're going to show. Can't help it. Like, we do what we can do. Do you guys feel like they should quit if production refuses to use? If production says no, we have to use the adoption as a storyline. Do you guys think they should quit the show? Leave me your thoughts. Like this video on your way out. If you're not yet subscribed, please do me a huge favor and hit that subscribe button. We're so close to 100,000 subscribers, you guys. We're very, very, very close. Also, if you're not following me on my other social media platforms, please go follow me. I'm on TikTok, Instagram, X, Facebook. Definitely need to listen to it. Lindsay's put a lot. I did listen to the one that Lindsay was on. I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye, guys.